P'nawn da, all. Afternoon, and welcome to the Welsh Sexual Assault Services Lunch and Learn session. Sorry, lots more coming in. Croeso I sesiwn clinio a dysgu, gan heirio gan raglen gwasanaethau ansoddiadau Rywal Cymru. So that is a welcome to our session. And I know that people are still joining. But I'm Jo Williams. I'm the Programme Director for Welsh Sexual Assault Services. As some of you who have joined us before know that we're doing a series of lunch and learn sessions. So every month we're providing an hour's training on a new topic. And today I'm very pleased to be introducing Claire Short, who's going to be taking us through our session today. And she's going to be discussing and taking us through the prevention of child sexual abuse within marginalised communities. So without further ado, I will pass you over to Claire. But if I can just ask that everybody mutes their microphones, please. Thank you. Over to you, Claire.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, Jo. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to introduce myself, my name is Claire Short and I'm the Stopping Our Wales manager. Stopping Our Wales is part of the Lucy Faithfull Foundation. Some of you may be familiar with our services. I've been in post for 11 years and my background is in working with children, young people, and specialise in working with families with children with additional needs. I've now specialised in child sexual abuse prevention for as I said, 11 years. But I'll be talking through some of our projects here in Wales, but just want to say that I work across the Lucy Faithfull Foundation in lots of the other services that are provided as well. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen with you, and bear with me a moment. I'm hoping it's that one. Yep. And I will put it on slide for you. Hope you can all see that. Please shout somebody if you can't. Okay. And I will just point out I do have a puppy with me. She does sometimes bark, but hopefully she's sleeping at the moment that she won't. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about the work that we've done with key partners around our prevention of child sexual abuse within marginalised communities and what we've learned and what we're doing. So here we are. As I said, we're part of the Lucy Faithfull Foundation. It was founded in 1992 by Baroness Lucy Faithfull. Last year we celebrated our 30th year and had lots of celebrations. We're quite unique in what we do. We are the only UK-wide charity that is dedicated solely to reducing the risk for children being sexually abused. And we're known, I suppose, within a professional sense of our work with entire families and services that include assessments, intervention, treatment of known offenders, training and workshops and consultancies, that we also run our sort of child sexual abuse campaigns that we've been running for over 30 years. You'll see there that we have a confidential anonymous helpline. And basically, you know, it grows every year. It's funded through the Home Office and other providers, and is the backbone basically of our organisation because, you know, it feeds into all our services, whether it's an intervention assessment or referred to projects, maybe the Young Persons Project, for instance. Really pleased that last year we reached 1 million visitors to our website, so great to see that we're growing. Within the pandemic, we obviously hopped over to using a chat function, which proved to be successful, and that's something that we've continued with as well. Hot off the news, we have launched a young person's website, and you'll have more information in the autumn term about that. Okay, everyone else who our founder is, quite often I'm referred to Lucy, myself, because of the Lucy Faithfull Foundation, but just to give you an insight really, she was described as a mother to hundreds. She was the first social worker to be appointed into the House of Lords, and had a huge influence on legislation, including the Children's Act 1989. She was responsible for all the bills and the white papers. And what we have found with Baroness Lucy Faithfull, that she was committed to our work. She did not shy away from controversy, if you like, was quite ahead of her time, and indeed recognised the fact that unless we work with sexual offenders, which obviously is a challenge, then we won't actually know how to protect children best. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a summary of who we work with. So anybody really we work with, anybody that works or supports children, but we also work with these client groups, adult male and female people who have offended, children, young people who have displayed harmful sexual behaviour, protective adult family members, child victims and adult survivors of abuse, communities and professional groups. And recently we published a series of Lucy Faithfull papers. We're continuing with that. So everything that we do is built on our evidence-based activities and sustainable services. Okay, this is just a little bit about our vision, our mission and our work. As we know that child sexual abuse is a major public health problem. It affects more than 1 million children under the age of 16 in the UK. I suppose what we have learned since the pandemic, that we've seen an increase in the risk to children that has grown, and our skills and commitment are needed more than ever. Okay, so this session, I'll start with a little bit of context, is to just raise awareness about preventing child sexual abuse, supporting professionals working across marginalised communities, including identifying the risks, recognising the warning signs, understanding the barriers, and what we've learned with best practice in partnership work and accessing support. Before we start though, I would like just to remind people to take care of themselves, you know, look after yourselves. If you need a break, you know, you take it. You've got our helpline number there if you need extra support, or you'll have my details at the end of the session if anybody needs to reach out, but please look after yourselves if you need to. Okay, so I said I needed to give you a little bit of context before I explain how we got involved in this type of work. So basically, we are mostly funded through the Welsh Government for 2 projects. So we were awarded for funding in 2020. We have been had previous funding from Welsh Government for different projects, and it has now been extended to 2025. So the 2 Wales-wide projects that we mostly focus on under Wales is keeping children safe, our primary prevention, and our early intervention prevention projects for at-risk or vulnerable families, and looking at secondary and tertiary prevention. Okay, some of you might have seen these leaflets that we promote through the safeguarding boards and through key partners, but just really want to say to you that the first project, Keeping Children Safe, holds a lot of strands, if we like. Last year, we actually grew with what we were doing. We actually delivered 114 sessions, reaching 1,177 beneficiaries. Considering our first year in 2025, we only reached 36. We only, delivered 36 sessions. What I can tell you is that both our projects are free for parents and carers and professionals to access, and demand is very high for our public educational sessions, which is absolutely great. Other strands of our project include delivering our train-the-trainer model, and we sort of do this to reach out to people that can support their own communities. So we've got Welsh speakers, we've got people from one of our partners that deliver within their communities. We've got police officers, we've got people teaching out in colleges and universities, because again, they're working with their communities. One of the things that we've been really pleased with over the last year is that we've delivered to over 400 people delivering multi-agency webinars. And this year we focused on children and young people with on the autistic spectrum who engage in harmful sexual behaviour. And we also develop lots of resources. So recently developed a new resource, our traffic lights for teenagers. And we've developed an easy read around keeping safe online. And we regularly send out Wales newsletters and partner packs to over 1,600 supporters, which is really good. Okay, our second project is our individual early intervention for vulnerable or at-risk families. Last year we delivered to over 50 families. It's a bespoke one-to-one educational intervention for parents or family members, and we deliver between 3 and 10 sessions due to, sometimes we have to extend the sessions to meet people's needs, especially if they got additional needs. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can see that some examples there, if you like, of the families that we help and support. So, children that have been groomed online, we mostly deal with the family members being arrested for indecent images of children. It might be that somebody's in a relationship with a sex offender, that obviously we were concerned about children at risk. So it is a referral base. But what I can say to you is that we have seen, I suppose, more referrals coming in from marginalised groups, if you like, and some people are able to seek support or they're scared to seek support, and we need to make sure that everybody is safe. Okay, so it's very difficult to put you all into breakout rooms, but what I would like is just for you to think about, what words would you use to define child sexual abuse? What are we actually talking about? If people want to put this in the chat, I'm quite happy for you to do that. If I can get back to chat, that would be really good. Some people just want to think, what are we talking about when we're talking about child sexual abuse? Okay, thank you very much. Predatory behaviour, exposure to pornography, abusing a position of trust, grooming. Yeah, excellent. Manipulation, coercion. Yeah, underage sexual activity. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. That's absolutely lovely. Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm sorry, I just see that some people are having difficulty seeing the screen, and I do apologise for that. I'm not sure what's happening there. Okay. So this is the definition, which falls under the National Action Plan that we have in Wales to prevent and respond to child sexual abuse. So all the words that you were talking about, so child sexual abuse involves forcing or enticing a child to take part in sexual activities, whether or not the child is aware of what is happening. That includes physical contact, including penetrative or non-penetrative acts, non-contact activities such as involving children in looking at or in the production of pornographic material, or watching sexual activities, or engaging children to behave in sexually inappropriate ways. Okay, so to put that into a little bit more context for you, we do know that child sexual abuse is a difficult subject to think and talk about, but we believe that by learning and understanding more, we can better protect our children. Every day, children and young people across the UK suffer sexual abuse, most commonly at the hands of someone that they know. I think, you know, quite a lot of times people think it all comes from stranger danger, but actually when it comes to sexual abuse, you know, 9 out of 10 children know their abuser. We know that we're at epidemic levels, and we know it causes harm to hundreds of thousands of children in the UK every year. And these children are from all sectors of society, from all cultures and from all ethnic groups. So it's likely that we know somebody was sexually abused, or someone is now being sexually abused, or has sexually abused a child. And that's why we need to address the issue now. We believe that child sexual abuse is preventable. Okay, not going to pull much out of this, but just to say that we know from our work with other organisations, including the police, that in addition to contact sexual abuse, every month hundreds of homes are visited by police officers carrying what we call the knock, who investigate child sexual abuse material and indecent images of children. It equates to about 10 every day, affecting 300 families per month. And what we do know, it can have a lasting effect on non-offending partners and children that are left distressed, betrayed, feeling to blame, feeling confused, not sure of their rights, you know, struggling, I think, emotionally, not knowing where to turn for support. And obviously, you know, it is important that we safeguard children, but we do have to think of the stigma attached to child sexual abuse and the views that we as professionals have about it, and that can be very influential in the decision making. And across the board, you know, you've got quite a lot of different families, and they can be different. They can be treated in different ways, which we need to have some consistency. Okay, so what is the risk? So we know that 1 in 6 children are sexually abused before they are 16 in England and Wales. To put that into context then, you know, an average size of children in a classroom these days, around about 30, so potentially 5 there that have been sexually abused. We know between 1/3 to 2/3 of child sexual abuse is also committed by children and young people under the age of 18. 90% of children who are sexually abused know their abuser. And we do know that 1 in 3 people who have been sexually abused never ever tell. I've also got some stats now. The problem with the work that we've done with our key partners is we quickly found that there was a huge gap in statistics. But I can share with you that, you know, what we have learned, some of the outcomes, obviously, from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, the research from Centre of Expertise, and from other organisations. What we know is that children from ethnic minority backgrounds are underrepresented in official reporting of service use relating to child sexual abuse. Children with a disability are 3 times more likely to be sexually abused. We know that almost 1 in 5 LGBTQ plus young people have experienced some forms of sexual abuse. Offenders of child sexual abuse may use the idea of honour to groom, shame, and control young people from ethnic minority communities. Learning disability and autism are overrepresented among young people who have displayed harmful sexual behaviour, and I am involved in that type of work and do see that quite a lot. And LGBTQ plus adolescents are more at risk of sexual abuse and have higher rates of self-harm and suicide than other adolescents. Worrying statistics, I'm sure that you would agree. Okay, so just want to talk about, you know, when we sort of react and when cases come through, when we're aware of child sexual abuse that has taken place. We know that the reactive agenda tends to be very traumatic, intrusive and shameful for the child. Child may not be able to accurately understand, recall or communicate about their abusive experiences. Again, we know children who suffer sexual abuse can be from any walk of life, and we firmly believe that children should not be solely responsible for protecting themselves from sexual abuse. We believe that it is the role of parents, carers and adults known to the child, and they are the protectors. So we need to create an environment of safety, and react to abuse concerns is crucial, but so is prevention. And I know that you're going to be familiar with this. We firmly believe in a public health approach to prevention. You're all from the public health services, and I know you use the same approach. Prevention is key, and we need to make sure that, you know, if we can prevent using primary and secondary prevention, and that the right services then are available to victims and survivors when they do need it. Okay, so we're going to move on now. So it's a little bit of context, but move on to about our work with marginalised children and preventing child sexual abuse. I'm hoping most of you will be familiar with the National Action Plan that we have in Wales. We act as joint secretariat for the cross-party group in preventing and responding to child sexual abuse with our partners NSPC Cymru, New Pathways, Victim Support and RASAC. And we're delighted of the outcomes of the first action plan, which finished last year. The National Action Plan for Preventing and Responding to Child Sexual Abuse was the first of its kind in Wales. And we are now working with the Welsh Government and key partners on the second part of the action plan, which I'm hoping will be launched at, you know, the end of the autumn term or the beginning of January. But part of the Secretariat group, we developed and presented our legacy report on the first action plan. Right, so as part of the National Action Plan, we were already delivering services that met the action plan, which included raising awareness, you know, doing our campaign, Train the Trainer, working with vulnerable families. But we were asked under Action 7 in 2020 and 21 by Welsh Government. They actually commissioned East, Stonewall, Cymru and Learning Disability to work with us to develop resources for families and professionals aimed at supporting marginalised community groups across Wales. Okay, so just a little bit of a background there of the groups that we've worked with. And what I can say is that we learnt an awful lot, and it was, it made sense. You know, we were asked to work with them because we've developed resources, we had the expertise around child sexual abuse, but also, you know, our three key partners here had the expertise in their field. So really great that we were able to do that collaborative work and develop some distinct resources. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we started, if you like, with looking at our old resources. So some of you might have seen these in the past. So these are our sort of resources for families, and these were the resources for professionals. So we use these as a starting point. Sorry, my dog is trying to jump up, so please ignore that. Basically, we used it to sort of, the one good thing that I think is the partnerships all said that they recognised that they had gaps and they had nothing available to support and help their communities. So again, we learned a lot from each other. So what did we do? We held an initial scoping meeting with all three organisations. We held regular catch-up meetings and plans and discussed progress. And what was really great was that a lot of the partners worked together. They held a number of focus groups. They carried lots of their own research as well within the community and the families. And it helped us, you know, move forward to work with the groups to develop the research. Now, sorry. Beg your pardon. Right, I'll just let the dog up. Apologies, everyone. Apologies, everybody. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, so what did we found? We found as we talked with the three groups from the outcomes of the work that they'd done with the focus group that we all had common themes. There was a lot of the resources and information that they liked and they could they thought was really, really useful to keep in, but they did pick up out on some other resources as well. So one of the things, well, quite a lot of the things that came out of it was that they wanted real people within, you know, the resources, and they wanted clearer definitions. They wanted more signposting for help and support within their communities. They wanted us to, and for us to build up trust within the communities, to emphasise, you know, what we meant by confidentiality with the helplines. But we talked a lot about the sensitivities and the cultural sensitivities and the appropriate language that we needed to use developing these resources, making sure that we were fit for purpose. And you know, it took a lot of work, if you like, because we had to take all of that on board and go away sometimes and think about these issues. But I think the biggest struggle again was around the data, around statistics and finding out the gaps. And I firmly believe if we struggle with that, then we're obviously missing a lot of information. Okay. Don't need to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the signs to watch out for in children and young people. So again, what we were told for each community group was that a lot of the indicators were the same. But what we did find out was that there were some differences, and they were more specific to each group. So again, I would just point some out. So with ethnic minority communities, most of it was the same, but what we did notice was, you know, more around being worried about, you know, children, young people being very secret, maybe using drugs or alcohol to hide what was happening, you know, their biggest fear of being disbelieved, or not wanting to share, not being open, because they want the fear of being ostracized from their families and their community, and wanting to protect families. So and again, you know, there are no words sometimes within a spoken language, so that might indicate a lack of knowledge for children, young people who might not be able to name their experiences as abuse. And I think many years ago, I remember working on a project, I think in Cardiff, and the simplest words to us, like shock. Well, what is shock? Don't understand what that is. So we have to be very careful, you know, with some ethnic minority communities, to make sure that they understand what we're trying to get over to them. Okay. So again, when we've worked with Learning Disability Wales and they've worked with their focus groups, you know, we do know that a physical disability might mean children, young people are less able to resist or avoid abuse. They might have communication or learning difficulties, and that can make it more difficult to prevent abuse or tell someone about it. And again, you can see most of this is the same, but what we did find out is that they were concerned that, you know, you might notice changes in personal care, or children, young people might use increased rude words, using slang terms, maybe flinching away from the carer, or suddenly disliking support staff. And I always say, you know, we're working, you know, families that you know, have their own children, they know their children best. They're going to know what is different for them, you know, so a complete change in their behaviour or personality. But you're also going to have physical signs, or maybe acting out in sexual ways, regressing to younger behaviours, and that's going to depend on the disability. Okay, so turning now to children, young people from the LGBTQ plus community, we know they're more likely to suffer sexual abuse. And this can lead to risky behaviours, and we know that almost 1 in 5 young people have experienced some form of sexual abuse, compared with 1 in 10 of non-trans heterosexual young people. And again, you know, this might, a lot of, I think the concerns with Stonewall is that many young people might go online, might join forums, might get themselves in trouble doing things. They're trying to find out about themselves, coming to terms with their sexuality, exploring. And obviously, you know, you might have someone from the LGBTQ community, but also might come from an ethnic community as well. So lots of things to consider. But again, the groups thought these were very important to make it very clear to parents and carers and professionals what the differences might be. But we always say, you know, if any behaviour is causing you concern, it's best to get that checked out. Okay, just keeping an eye on the time. One of the things that we have always done under the Lucy Faithfull Foundation is to point out to parents and carers, you know, the signs to look out for in adults that may pose a risk to children. And again, it's not an extensive list, but what we do know is that if you have that gut feeling that somebody or things happen, or you're a bit worried about that person that is spending time with your child, or asking too many questions, going back to what people were talking about, grooming and taking advantage and being coercive with children, you know, it's best to get that checked out. You know, so it's not always about making them special. It can be about picking on a particular child. It's asking too much information, but wanting to spend time with children. You know, and most people do it for the right reasons to help people, but some people obviously do it just to get to children out in the community, and that's something that we need to be clear about. Okay, so we've briefly tapped on some of the vulnerabilities from the sort of three groups. So we do feel that it's important to think what the vulnerabilities might be. So what we have learned from ethnic minority communities, and it's something that I'm seeing, I'm sure you're seeing it as well, is that children and parents might have different first languages, and one or both might not speak English fluently. I do feel that young people are getting better at this now, you know, and they're wanting to talk, but we're going through the generations, and again, you know, we use interpreters sometimes with our early intervention work, just to get these messages out. As I said before, in some communities, there are no words for child sexual abuse. It's not widely understood. Again, I'm working with a lady at the moment who said she's never had any education about child sexual abuse. She had noticed things that were worrying her, but she didn't know how to start those conversations. She didn't know who she could turn to. And we know that some parents, carers might not understand child protection laws here. They might be different to the ones from their country of origin. And one of the things that came up within the focus groups is that not in all communities, but there might be lots of visitors to the family home, maybe for a wedding, a special occasion, and there are lots of sort of people that are invited. The mums are busy, you know, doing the preparations. The children are left with people that they do know, but they might be left unattended, and things can happen. Again, some ethnic minority communities, sexual education is not openly discussed. It can be a taboo subject. Children find it hard to discuss the topic, but we do know that there are evidence of some community groups that are very open with their children. People seeking asylum may also be afraid to report concerns because of their uncertain legal status. So moving on now with children and young people with learning or physical difficulties. Again, just to point out that, you know, they might have fewer friends, and they might need help with daily tasks. Carers and staff might not be able to communicate well with the child. And we have known in the past that people perhaps go into providing respite care, and it's all about just earning money. It's not about the child. Sometimes they don't even go up to the child and talk to the child. So having different carers might mean changes in behaviour go unnoticed. I'm very passionate about working with families. You know, parents have got a lot to deal with. You know, they might be worried that their complaints might lead to losing services. And we do know that some people might target disabled children because they think they are less likely to be detected. And then we've got some additional vulnerabilities from children, young people, from the LGBTQ plus community. And again, this is really concerning that, you know, some children and young people are exploring, they're finding out about themselves, but people treat this to exploit them by threatening to out them. Young people might not have positive role models. They might not have good relationships. They might be pressurized into behavior that they're told is, you know, what people do. And, you know, we know that young people's communities can be quite small. They might fear losing their friends, and they might fear losing their families, being ostracized. And some adults abuse young people as a form of hate crime, or to punish or to cure them. So there's lots and lots of vulnerabilities that we worry about. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the screen if I possibly can. And what I want to, and if you can put in the chat, please, what do you think might be the barriers for marginalised communities in preventing child sexual abuse? What do you think might be some of the barriers? I'm going to take a sip of water while you're all thinking about that one. Any ideas? Unaware of rights, embarrassment, lack of trust, language. Yeah, denial, it could be a family member that they know. Quite often it is religion. Being blamed for it, bringing shame in the family. Isolation. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, knowing who they can speak to. Fear. Yes, I think fear came out absolutely hugely with all our focus groups. Distrust in police services. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay. I'm hoping and go back to the presentation. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time because I can talk for Wales. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so everything that you talked about here, again, we found that there was quite a lot of statistics that were missing, and it's important, I think, that we try and break down the barriers. And I think, you know, the stigma came out absolutely hugely, that it's a very sensitive topic to talk about, especially in some ethnic minority communities. There's that avoidance and denial that people are put in the chat, you know, that worry that it's going to cause shame to the family, it's going to cause relationship breakdowns and affect a child's future prospects if they disclose concerns. So again, just worrying what's going to happen, that stigma. And I suppose in the past, and it happens across all communities, that sometimes we try and deal with it in our own community, which is not always helpful. Children and parents might have different first languages. We talked about the language barrier. It's important to obviously talk about it, knowing their rights. Fear what's going to happen to your child, what's going to happen, are the police going to get involved, you know, are children going to be removed, families going to be split up. So there are a few examples from East, and then some examples from Learning Disability Wales, you know, that again, children might struggle with language and communication. It makes that disclosure difficult. You know, we have to rely on children showing us through their emotions, behaviour and physically. And again, you know, families have got so much to contend with. This is one of the last things that they're going to think is happening to their child. But what we're trying to get out there is that, well, this might be happening to your child. Again, some children might not understand what is happening to them. They haven't got that understanding. What is normal for them, they might be confused. Again, you know, having different carers might, you know, mean changes in behaviour go unnoticed. Carers might not communicate well enough with the child or the parents. Parents are going to worry that they're going to lose services. And we know that there's an increased risk with children with a disability, 3 times more likely to be sexually abused than children without a disability. So absolutely really frightening. And what we need to do is to break down the barriers. We need to encourage communication within all communities and for the community to talk about this topic. And again, some information that we learned around the barriers to disclosure from Stonewall. You know, young people with LGBTQ plus find it harder to speak up because it requires the young person to disclose the abuse, also possibly to disclose their identity before they are ready. You know, quite a lot of young people are exploring their sexuality or gender identity. They don't know how to define themselves. Sexual abuse can make them question themselves or deny who they are. And again, that fear factor, you know, what's going to happen when they say what has happened? What is the response going to be? This really struck me because, you know, will that response be actually worse than the abuse that they are experiencing? You know, how people are going to perceive them, and again the confusion, you know, that you know, is this right, is this normal? Okay, so just to finish up then, a few slides. So what have we done? So again, these are available to download from our website. They have been shared through all the regional safeguarding boards, but these are the new leaflets for professionals. And what happened was that we worked with the three organisations. We developed a range of different leaflets for each sort of community group. But when it came to writing and developing the professional group, you know, there were, you know, most of what we were already saying, but also things around starter conversations and, you know, things to consider with three of the key partner community groups. So we developed the professional leaflet. We produced a family leaflet for East, well, for ethnic communities. We developed a family leaflet for Stonewall. We also developed one family leaflet for parents with children with a disability, plus a family leaflet for parents with a learning disability. We also created an easy read, and we went further because we thought, well, actually, we're working with more and more families that their first language is not English, and we worked with our key partners to find out at that particular time the most common used languages across Wales, and these were the main 12 ones. So we got the leaflets translated. And what I can tell you up until the end of 22 is that our leaflets have been downloaded over 6,086 times, which is really, really good. Okay, so one of the things that I'm really, really proud of as well this year, I'm very proud of all the work that we've done with our key partners, is that we've also, part of our work with Welsh Government, we've worked collaboratively again with Learning Disability Wales and Easy Read, and we've developed 4 new short films to highlight the risk of child sexual abuse along signs of child sexual abuse. The aim of this is that the films will be used with families across Wales, and all the actors in the films have a learning disability and are part of Hijinks Theatre Company. So nothing nasty, but if people want to step out or take time out, that's absolutely fine. And I hope this is going to work. Please, somebody on the panel, if you can't hear the sound, please let me know. But this is just one of the films. We haven't had the official launch yet, but they are being translated into Welsh, but I thought it might be nice for you to see this today. So if someone can please shout that it's okay, that will be fine once I put it on.
No volume.
Okay, I knew that was going to happen. Okay, thank you. Right, bear with me, everybody. Right, okay. Thank you for shouting out. I was like, oh, is it working or isn't it not working? Right, okay. Hopefully this will work now.
Yes, working.
Thank you.
Child sexual abuse is a really big problem. If a child trusts you enough to tell you about abuse, remember that it's very unlikely that they are lying. It's important to make them feel supported. Don't ignore what they are saying and stop them from talking about it. Stay calm and try not to get upset or angry. If you get angry, the child may think you are angry with them. This is something their abuser would have told them, to scare them into not telling. Let the child know you are there to help them, that you believe them and love them. Make sure they know that they are doing the right thing by talking about it.
If you have been told about abuse, or if you see the warning signs of abuse and you don't know what to do, get help and advice. You can call the Stop It Now helpline. It is important that you do something so together we can stop child sexual abuse for good.
For support and advice, call our helpline on 0808 1900 or visit stopitnow.org.uk.
Okay. Okay, so we've just got a few more slides. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, it's one of 4. And like I said, it's saying for to reach you know, families with that need it. And one of the things that came out of those discussions was it's got to be people like us, which I felt was really, really important. So you've had a little bit of a taster, but we will launch them and share that then with you later on. So conscious of time, so moving forward, we're going to continue to increase our reach with parents and carers, with other community groups across Wales. This year we're attending our 2nd National I Stepford to converse with people in Welsh and to share activity packs and talk about our work and help families to be able to prevent child sexual abuse. But, you know, again, doing lots and lots of things to make that happen by continuing to deliver our trainer. If anyone's interested in any of our focus groups or doing trainer work, you'll have my details at the end of the session that you can make contact and we can share information with you. But our social media campaign continues. We've developed a child sexual abuse toolkit that can help professionals. We're always constantly updating, lots of new things we've done this year by, you know, helping professionals have those conversations with parents and carers, how to start that conversation with your children. And we do know that ongoing partnership work is key to future prevention and development of our work and resources. And again, a big call out, shout out if anyone can help us or is interested in any projects, please call us. So these are just some bit of signposting for you for the groups that we've worked with if you want more information and a little bit more. We will share the presentation with you as well. What the focus groups, people told us that they wanted our information, but they also wanted their own groups as well that can help and support them. So it was further help and support in their own communities as well. That's just a screenshot of our toolkit if anyone is interested. Again, you can download it and share the information. And really just a special thank you really to our wonderful partners, East, Stonewall Cymru and Disability Wales, for all their contribution and development of these resources. It would not have been possible without them. Big thank you to Welsh Government for their continued support, our work with the cross-party group. And I just think I'm a big advocate for collaboration work, working in partnerships, because this is what's going to help us in the future. Nobody, if you like, can do this work alone. So there's my details. I'll share that with you, but I will come off screen now. And I've actually amazed myself because I never ever stick to time, but I do have a few minutes for questions if anybody's got any questions. And take yourself off mute, or you can put it in the chat, absolutely fine. Okay, can't see any questions. I can see some people have accessed resources. That's wonderful. Like I said, I'm happy for people to come to me directly. I can only give a snapshot. Sorry, wasn't very interactive, but I was expecting 300 people, and I was thinking, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to cope with that. So, and just to keep you all advised, yes, I'll definitely share the slides with you. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And I think
Okay.
thanks in the chat. Thank you, Claire. That was really, really informative.